What is up, my favorite people? How are we doing today? Happy Thursday. Happy playoffs week. Happy playoff best ball drafting. I'm excited. I am, I think, around 500 or so drafts into the playoff best ball, and I am not down, not expecting any of you to be slowing down. We are in the softest time of drafts right now, which unfortunately does mean you sometimes get sniped, but also sometimes people just do some crazy stuff and you can get some very unique starts for these. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, I had a Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow start. Absolutely smashed that. So if anybody is trying to prepare for that Cincinnati San Francisco Super Bowl, you can stop. It's already done. I've won it. But there's a ton more outcomes, ton more possibilities, Super Bowl playoff matchups that we can all still draft for. That was also for the gauntlet. That gauntlet has closed. We are into a gauntlet 2 with another $1 million prize pool. We are into mitten 4 with another $35,000 up first. It is exciting. It's impressive to see all of these filling. And today, just like any other, we'll be talking a little strategy. We can react to some of the news that's going on. We've got 2 third-string quarterbacks that are probably going to be starting. We just found out within the last few minutes that the potential Buffalo-Kansas City game will be played in a dome in Atlanta. We can only be so lucky if we end up getting that matchup. That would be such a fun game. And that'd be what? Conference championship. That's when we're looking for about like 2 out of 20 or so to advance in some of these. Maybe trying to think what the other advance rates are. That's an extremely pivotal week where not only do you need to have those, 2 of the 2 teams on each of the sides of the conferences, and you can play for that Super Bowl. But hey, if you can get 3, that may even be necessary to get as many points as possible to advance to that final round. That's a fun one. All right, yeah. There's a lot of playoff things going on out there. We're going to be focusing predominantly on Underdog today. If there is anyone who's been living under a rock for the past year, don't you worry. You can still join. This is the most fun year. Use promo code ETR. Get up to a $100 deposit match for first-time depositors, and then come join. Doing a couple gauntlets. I see you in chat. Good morning. Good afternoon. Happy playoff weekend. Happy everyone. Let's keep the fun going. If you do have any questions, happy to always talk through those. Before we jump in, I'll kind of talk through, I think the biggest news is the Baltimore and the Miami situations. Looking, 2 ain't playing. Highly unlikely we see Lamar out there either. So we're talking third-string quarterbacks. We're talking 2 teams that are going to be between 8 and 9 point underdogs, maybe even a little higher on those slates. But what's challenging is that there's some talent that we like in the wild card games if it wasn't for just having such low advance rate. But starting off with the Baltimore side, hey, even without Lamar, even without the backup, even going to the third string, we saw Isaiah Likely. What do you have? I don't remember the exact stat line, but I think it was like 12 or 13 targets, had 100 yards, had a touchdown. They're still using, hey, even with the third string, tight end is still kind of the core of that offense. Mark Andrews still could go off. I really, I'm going to preface this all with I don't like drafting players that have a 20% chance of winning that first round because, yes, it can still help me get out of the first round. Such low likelihood to help me in any further weeks, but I still do have my eye on Mark Andrews, and I've been taking him in the kind of 10th round aspect if I really. a piece for that first weekend, predominantly, hey, if I've been drafting some Chiefs or some Eagles. J.K. Dobbins, interesting. Gus Edwards left last week's game with a concussion. J.K. Dobbins could have an insane workload. Now, he's not really a pass catcher, and we're expecting them to be down to Cincinnati for most of the games. So I have let off on the J.K. Dobbins. I'm not really drafting him anymore. I think there's other pieces that I'd rather plug and play. But if you need a running back late and you're looking just for that wild card, I think he's an okay play. Not too scared of the matchup against Cincinnati, and I do think he's going to get substantial volume. Just got to hope that game stays close. And if they actually are able to pull off the upset somehow, Dobbins is probably going to be a major piece of that. Other side, now we'll go to the Miami situation. Obviously, fortunate not going to have Bridgewater either. So here we've got Skylar Thompson starting, and Tyreek and Waddle are kind of the interesting ones, and maybe a little of Jeff Wilson because Mostert with the injury. For this situation, I'm really considering really Tyreek. I'm not going with any stacks in this situation. It's more of just the one-off. And we've seen, when Bridgewater was into those two games, he was still force-feeding Tyreek. I expect that Tyreek is still going to be a major part of the game plan for Skylar. And we know that his explosiveness with one play, they're going to be playing from behind. They're going to be passing. Tyreek can still have a pretty solid game. So I'm still liking him as a value. Waddle, it's possible. The injury thing kind of scares me, combined with his value is usually more from like a volume and efficiency standpoint. He could still break one. We saw a few weeks ago, like he still has insane speed. But when I'm looking for those late round 1 week wildcard plugins, I'm happy to go with Tyreek. He's usually been going still in like the 8th round. So you're actually not getting him at the very end. But I'm kind of staying away from the rest. And the running back situation, assume Mostert doesn't play. You do get Wilson with more volume. But I just don't think you're going to get touchdowns like that we'd be looking for from a running back. I think it's just going to be a bit of an ugly game for Miami. So overall, stay away except for Tyreek. Curious if anyone else has any other thoughts there. Am I missing something? Other questions or just larger strategy questions? I am happy to chat through those. We'll jump in a draft or two here and obviously talk some more there. So let's go. Let's get this up. We're going to jump in a gauntlet. I've probably done about 20 or 30 of these. I could lose track. Let me take a look. How many have I done at the gauntlet twos? It just really kicked off over the weekend. I was unfortunately unable to max out the first gauntlet because the weekend just really got away from me. Gauntlet 2, okay, there you go. My guess is close. I'm at 28 right now. I'm going to go pretty hard the next few days, see if I can get that up to at least 75 or 100. A lot of that happens because I'm drafting 2 or plus at a time. And to be honest, my dog absolutely loves this time of year because I'm just going on so many walks. Okay. What are we looking at here? Any familiar names? We got a couple badges. We got some black and white badges. I might have pulled the hammer a little too quick to get people in chat to join for this one, but next time we can time it a little better and see if some people in chat can join in. See some questions popping in. First, easy one. Matt Murphy, Josh or CMC at 1. Josh Allen all the way. I've been taking Josh on pretty much the entire drafting playoff scenario because I thought there was a decent amount. Zoom in a bit. Yeah, I can do that. No worries. Good call. Let's see how that is. That should probably be helpful. Thank you for the call out. Yes, I've been going Josh Allen the entire time. And once he locked up that 2 seed, and now it's 2 seed without having to actually play a road game the entire playoff. That's amazing. He's the clear number 1. Even with McCaffrey, yes, you have the injury news. I'm not too scared of that. You have Elijah Mitchell. That actually adds a tiny bit of, I'd say, maybe not concern, but definitely impact the Christian McCaffrey aspect. But for me, it really just comes down to Josh Allen's projections. His value above replacement makes him number 1 for anything like that. And the other is from a diversified portfolio. If you're taking McCaffrey 1, you're virtually going to get no Josh Allen. So I think that's pretty tricky. I really liked the couple weeks when it was probably right before the Bengals game when Allen was actually falling to like 3 and 4 occasionally, and you could stack him up with Diggs. That was a fantastic combo. But that was other tournament. That was Gauntlet. So no need to worry about teams who are getting those. I haven't seen any Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stacks here because Allen's going almost always 1, maybe 2, and Diggs is hovering on that turn. So he's got to really fall. And the other thing is, if someone has McCaffrey, I mean, McCaffrey and Diggs is a great combo. Jalen Hurts and Diggs combo. So there's a lot of players that like it makes sense to be stacking. Okay, we're back here. Kelsey went 1 before me. Obviously was hoping that would fall. We can try to get a AC Philly. Let's do it. We haven't done this on stream yet, I don't think. We're going to go with the 2-1 seeds. We are going to give ourselves probably about a 5 to 10% chance of actually making out of the first round. But if we do, there are going to be and it's a 1-1 seed Super Bowl. There are going to be very few teams that have a full lineup. And to be honest, we'll probably only go for 4 here because we're taking some early guys. But we're going to need to be looking for how we can really get out of this first round to survive with, Mahomes and AJ Brown taking zeros. So starting off, I'm going to go queue up, put a lot of the Chiefs in the queue. Chiefs are really interesting for the 1 seed in these drafts because so many of them can have spike weeks, meaning really, hey, 50 and a touchdown in that Chiefs offense that are getting drafted so late. Okay, we have KC and Philly. We could go McKinnon, go with any of these Bengals just to get some points. I don't love anything I'm looking at here. Ugly. Do we want to go Miles Sanders over McKinnon? I think we're going to do that. We're going to go Miles Sanders over McKinnon. My thought processes here is I think the difference between McKinnon and Pacheco in a 1-game sample size actually isn't that large for the Super Bowl. So I'm okay if I'm getting a little, hey, miss out on this. We can grab Pacheco later. And the other is because we're not taking Jalen Hurts, if this is going to be a KC Philly Super Bowl, the teams we're competing against are going to be a lot of teams that are maybe like, hey, Kelsey and Jalen Hurts, or maybe Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, things like that. Basically, we're fading AJ Brown. We're fading Jalen Hurts. In a situation that Jalen Hurts doesn't do well, it's possible Miles Sanders got those rushing touchdowns. So now we're getting a little leverage off of our main competition for the Super Bowl while still getting a pretty strong play here. And I was trying to, if you saw, I was very quickly trying to filter through here to see what people were stacking with. And you have a Cincinnati one, and then you've got Cincy KC. It's possible that Shea Witten grabbed McKinnon here. Yes, Shea does. Okay. Now we probably need to start getting some points for that middle round. I'm going to go with Dalvin Cook first because Dalvin and Barkley projection isn't that much different. But Dalvin being the 3-point favorite gives us a little more of an opportunity for maybe even points in that second round. And it's possible we could even get Barkley a little later as well. When I'm devoting so much capital in the first couple picks to guys who are getting me 0 first week, I really want to shore up that running back position because we've seen in underdog scoring, the elite running backs really, let's even get rid of the elite. Like the middle ground running backs are substantially higher projected and more likely to score higher than the usual same tier wide receivers. So in those situations, if I can know that, hey, I know I'm taking a 0 from Sanders, so give me ideally 2 strong running backs here. Probably stop after that and then see if I can get a lot of flyers here. And I know I'm going to need another quarterback. So whatever quarterback I take, I'll probably grab 1 or 2 guys here and hope for a mini kind of a mini or double stack. Okay. As for, I see a lot of questions coming in here. I will try to respond to them when I am after this draft. Just so hard to multitask in those while doing this, talking in chat. But don't worry, I'll get back to those. Okay. We did get Barkley to fall to us. I love this. Yes, Cook and Barkley play each other week 1. Only one of those is going to advance. That's perfectly okay. They can both have very large games. I don't love any. The other option would be if we didn't want to go with Barkley, we could go with Godwin's and take Evans later. Oh, I'm really considering that. Let's see if I did it fast enough. Okay, we did it. We pulled out the Godwin. My thought process here is because we need we need another quarterback. I'm thinking we're going to try to get Godwin and Evans with these two. We'll see if Evans can fall back to me with a 33. We can then grab Brady late. This now would give us another team from the NFC to potentially, hey, go against Mahomes aspects. We're not really, to be honest, I mean, I'm not really going for like a Kansas City Tampa Bay Super Bowl here. But what I am doing is like in that conference championship where it is still pretty hard to advance in that final round. If you can get 3 teams, that's nice. And so here I'm hoping for the Tampa Bay aspect, which gets me out of the first round. But if Tampa wins, you then only need either the Giants to win as well to go against Philly. So it's possible for us to get those kind of 3 teams in the same. Gosh, Barkley still being available here is really tough to pass on. Oh, all right. I think we're going to go Barkley this time. Just the projection from Barkley versus Evans is substantially different. And when it's so important for us to really advance, and what I was just talking about there with regards to ideal situation is the Giants actually upset the Vikings. Giants would then be the lower seed and go to play Philly. And we hopefully can still get another Tampa stack here. So then Tampa's playing San Francisco and we're getting more opportunities, more games going there long term. Let's take a look at what these teams in between are doing. You've got a Hurts and a Herbert stack. Nothing that should scare us there. Brian's is the one that I'm a bit scared of whether he go. Mike Evans just went there. Okay. I was a little scared that Brian's is the one who may actually try to like go with the Evans, and then later we're coming back here. I still have these Chiefs in the queue just to keep an eye on, but in this stage right now, I think it's a little too much of a luxury pick to grab one. We still need some wide receivers to really get us through the first round. We're done drafting running backs, at least running backs for the wild card, because we can only count at most 2 out of them. We're hoping that's Cook and Barkley. All right. I talked up Tyreek earlier. I do think Tyreek is still a strong play for the week 1, and we do need points to get out of this for the week 1. So let's grab Tyreek here. Okay. Let's put Brady in the queue. I'm also going to grab like a Kirk and a Lawrence. I do really like Christian Kirk in that matchup versus the Chargers. We've seen his level of success, and when Trevor Lawrence has a good tied to Christian Kirk. So if we wanted to, if we ended up not getting the Brady, we could still maybe backdoor a little Christian Kirk, Trevor Lawrence as our second stack, and we still need that quarterback with Mahomes here. Cousins. Also a possibility because we have Dalvin. I assume Hawkinson is gone, but Thielen is probably still available. It's a little uglier. I like the upside for Brady and Trevor Lawrence and a little more than Kirk. And Kirk goes there, so we don't have to concern ourselves. But we get worried about that. Gosh, Pacheco still falling is really interesting. Okay. If we grab Pacheco here, we're going to end up with a 2-4-4 team. We know we have, okay, never mind. Don't need to think about that. We don't need to go with the ETN because we're done with this. We can still grab maybe a late Kansas City wide receiver if we want. But for now, let's do the Christian Kirk. We're going to grab Christian Kirk because I think he has strong value for the first week. And now for our skill players, we've got Cook, Barkley, Godwin, Hill, and Christian Kirk. Are we a favorite to advance? Nowhere near close. But is that definitely in contention and gives us a decent shot to advance out of the first round? I think so. And we're going to end with our other QB being a little Brady or Lawrence. Now the question for me is, do I want to grab Brady or Lawrence or grab one of these Kansas City guys first? So I'm going to look to see what we're working with in the picks between us. From Carla, we got 2 QBs. Do not need to worry about that. Shea Witten has Burrow, which usually can be just a 1, but it's been a little interesting draft. Okay. Lawrence went. We can't really risk too much more. Daniel Jones is still available. All right. We're going to go, and we have the Saquon aspect here. We're going to go with Kadarius Toney. Strong value for him, and this gives us 4 in that KC-Philly matchup. It gives us Mahomes, Sanders, A.J. Brown, and Kadarius Toney. So I like grabbing that there. And now we're going to grab Brady or Daniel Jones with the final pick. And I'm okay with either. I think either of them have individual game upside. Literally in week 17, you had like a 37-point game and a 35 or something like that. Granted, yes, Daniel Jones does it on the ground, got those 2 rushing touchdowns, but that is a part of his game. So we'll keep those there. I'm happy with either. I feel pretty good about this team. It's always so hard to get 4 from the 2-1 seeds. And I'd be hard pressed to believe anyone who has 5 from them really is able to advance past the first round or to the Super Bowl. So even if you just have 4, and our 4 are pretty legit ones with Mahomes, Miles Sanders, and A.J. Brown, covers a lot of the bases. And then Toney with that last pick there that can still, if they want to continue feeding him the ball, we saw what they were doing last week in week 18. I think he had 3 or so handoffs, had that touchdown, almost had the touchdown before, but they still wanted to give it to him. Hasn't had the routes and the targets that we'd be looking for, but maybe they ramp that up as the playoffs go. And hey, another extra week to get him healthy is nice. Between Brady and Daniel Jones, I think I'm going to lean Brady because we have the wide receiver aspect here. And Godwin, Barkley can have a very good game, and Daniel Jones, misses out. These two actually, in general, Barkley correlates well with his quarterback, but I will agree that in 1 game sample size, maybe there's a little inverse because they're stealing each other's running backs. They definitely at least limit each other's upside. So we'll grab Brady. He's obviously going to have a 3-touchdown game to Godwin because Godwin's a little sad about Evans having his game in week 17. So that's the story we're telling ourselves. And that's how the draft plays out. So once more for a recap. We got Mahomes and Brady. Brady for the wild card game. We got Sanders. We got Dalvin Barkley. We're counting on hopefully getting both, points from both Dalvin and Barkley here. And wide receivers, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin, Tyreek Hill, Christian Kirk, and Kadarius Toney. 3 of those. That'd be Tyreek Hill, Chris Godwin, and don't tell me I'm forgetting now. Who was the 5th wide receiver? Chris Godwin, Tyreek Hill, and Christian Kirk, all competing, hopefully to give us 2 legitimate scores and get us out of the first round. Okay, I'll pause there for a second. I won't enter just yet, so don't need to rush in. I'll give you guys a little notice, and hopefully you can get some more people from the chat in. But let me run through some of these questions now. Take a little break. It's exhausting to talk through all these. Okay. I see early on. Vouch, what are you saying? Okay, love these YouTube sessions. Thank you for the kind words. How are you approaching pick slot 6 when the first 5 taken are CMC and the top 4 QBs? So that means Burrow's already gone, so you don't want to go Chase. I do love Diggs, so I'd probably go Diggs there. I'm probably then going with a Diggs and a Jefferson or Diggs and a CeeDee Lamb, where I know that I can get the Dallas QB. I can get Dak later. I can get Kirk Cousins later. So I'm playing for that Buffalo Super Bowl and picking one of the Vikings or one of the Cowboys. Now, some people would say, well, why don't you go Debo? Why don't you go Kittle? And you could, and it probably is more likely that you get a Buffalo-San Francisco Super Bowl, but there's other people that are probably having much better Buffalo-San Francisco teams because Josh Allen is already going to be head and shoulders over Brock Purdy from projection-wise. So you're already a little downhill there. The way to kind of combat that Josh Allen leverage is having Christian McCaffrey, but you're missing out on Christian McCaffrey too. So now you would be playing for a Buffalo-San Francisco Super Bowl, but accepting that you're really missing the 2 best players in that game which is Josh Allen and CMC. So that's why I'm not saying, I mean, you're basically kind of like hitting yourself in the stomach before a boxing match, and then saying, okay, I'm ready for this fight, but you're already kind of starting at a disappointment, a disadvantage. So good question, though. Good question. Let's see. What else do we have? I see some chatter about some of the other sites playing on Drafters, playing on DraftKings. Not really. I mean, I think Drafters format and structure is nice. Just honestly, you've seen I've done 500 plus of these. I only have so much time. And I think the app just with Underdog is amazing and makes it so easy to multi-draft and just kind of be drafting while I'm on my phone walking around. We've got rankings up for DraftKings for you sickos who are playing 20-round playoff best ball. More power to you. Enjoy the rankings. They'll help. But I'm just not that much of a sick. I don't know. My time's too valuable. And that's not a person. Like 20 rounds for playoff basketball. It's just insane. I can get so many more underdog drafts in the same amount of time. So, and I think it's just because they are using the same kind of tech from the regular season. Okay. Taking 2 bye players in round 1 and 2. Well, literally, Matt Murphy, we just did it. We took 3 bye players in the first 3 rounds. Now, hopefully that kind of draft helps show the risks and downsides of it. But if it ends up being an Eagles and a Buffalo, it ends up being an Eagles and a Chiefs Super Bowl, there are not going to be many teams with a lot of players from that game. It's going to be very interesting. So we're increasing our risk early on. Oh, and I was on a pod with Hayden Winks yesterday, and we were specifically talking about this and trying to calculate about, not calculate, maybe estimate what our chance of advancing out of the first round is when we do something like the draft I just did. And, hey, given random, actually, we were even in a mitten where you have a 33% chance given random. And then I want to go so hard on these 1 seeds because you can get a little lucky. Here, it's even harder because we got 1 out of 16. So 1 out of 6. 1 out of 6, you're looking at around 17, 18%. That's, I think, given who we drafted, we're probably down to a 5% chance, maybe 7, 8% chance of advancing out of the wild card round. But if we round, we're already unique. We're all having some of the best players because of the Chiefs and the Eagles. So not only are we setting ourselves up for major success if we're somehow able to the Super Bowl one, but every round after the wild card, we probably have an edge so long as our 2 teams are still alive. That's why I like going for it. But yeah, it is hard. It is difficult. And I think you guys probably saw some of the challenges we felt in that last draft. All right. Joe asking, is drafting both SF running backs an optimal plan? Are you hoping for one over the other in this format? So I think, hey, that same question applies to a lot of the teams in San Francisco, but also Buffalo, because you got Singletary and Cook, also Tampa Bay. You have Leonard Fournette, Rachaad White. To a lesser degree, you've got it with Dalvin and Madison and Mixon and P. Ryan. Oh, but you definitely have with the Chiefs with McKinnon and Pacheco. And so my answer for all these are, I think it's perfectly fine. And I think there's probably actually strong reason to be drafting both running backs. Yes, in one. Oh, and Zeke and Pollard. Can't believe I forgot that one. So many of these teams have 2 pretty decent running backs. I think in any single game sample size, in a single game, things are so wonky. It's very possible that the Cowboys, have no passing touchdowns and Pollard and Zeke each have 2 touchdowns or something. And I think with a lot of these teams, it's just wonky from a one game. You could very much see both running backs, both players, having decent games, getting touchdowns or such. The other is throughout the entire playoffs, you could definitely have ping pong aspect where Singletary has the good game here and James Cook has it in the next game. And if you only had one of those, you may not advance all the way to the Super Bowl. Here, the biggest thing really is just correlation on the same teams, getting as many pieces from those teams that you are making bets on. They're going to make it to the Super Bowl, make it to the conference championship. And so, yeah, I don't care if they play the same position. If they both have big games, you can count them both because you're a flex spot and such, and they might have the ping pong aspect. I just want to get as many pieces that are going to be scoring points from those teams that I'm betting on. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Let's see. What else do we have? Chat Chat is flying. Questions are flying. Play at 1-6 if no QBs available. Kind of answered that one earlier. James Cook or Singletary. This is tough. My exposure is heavily on the Singletary side, and I think it's a little wonkiness and probably something that I have a flaw in is that I'm able when I'm stacking the bails, I'm able to grab Singletary pretty easily. That later on in the draft, when I would be looking at Cook, I'm usually then looking at my stack partner on the other side, and that's where those NFC teams have like strong players. So it's kind of just turned out that I've ended up with a lot more Singletary, but like I don't think it should be that way. From an actual like projections wise, it's really close between the two. The one thing that I've I don't know if I've talked myself into it or if that's what I really believe, and that's led to my actions. But I think between the two, I could very easily see either having a better game. But if you told me that one of these two ended up becoming the workhorse and was leaned on throughout the playoffs, I think it's far more likely to be Singletary, just because we've seen it in the past. He's the more veteran. They trust him more. Like maybe James Cook has a fumble or something. Maybe James Cook misses a major block or something. And I could see a scenario where Singletary really takes it as just the lead bell cow and runs away with it. I can't see that scenario happening barring an injury where Cook really takes the volume. Now, Cook may have more efficiency. He may have bigger plays, and that's perfectly okay. But I'd be really hard-pressed to see a scenario where Singletary's fully healthy and James Cook becomes kind of the workhorse. So that's why I think I'm leaning Singletary as well. Take that for what you want. Any chance you can do a mitten late? I'm probably just going to do another gauntlet today, but at 4 o'clock, check out my Twitter. I'll be doing another stream where we'll be doing some more underdog best ball drafts over on the OTM channel, and we'll be doing some mittens there. I did some mittens yesterday and a couple days ago as well. So, all right, two more questions, and then we'll jump in another gauntlet. Greg asking, in Allen stacks, how many other AFC players are you comfortable taking outside the Phillies teams? This guys, I'm finding it hard to see legit past the Super Bowl. In Allen stacks, how many other AFC players? I'm a little confused by the question. But in general, if I'm stacking Buffalo, I really want to. Okay. So you're saying you're finding it hard to see legit pass people from the NFC. And so you're wondering, am I then in those situations like stacking more AFC? I think my initial reaction is you don't know as much as you do. We don't know as much as we think we do. Philly and San Francisco seem like by far in a way better teams, but in a one game sample, either of those teams could lose. It would not shock me if Tampa, if Dallas, if Minnesota ended up going on a run and making it to the Super Bowl. And if you don't believe that, use Vegas odds. It's still a possibility. And then the other aspect is you can still have a core of Buffalo and either Philly or San Francisco, but then go heavy on another NFC team that you think can at least make it to the conference championship. And so, for example, Tampa and Dallas are good examples where if Tampa or Dallas win, most likely they play Philly. And so you could go with a Buffalo San Francisco stack, but then still stack some of the Cowboys or some of the Bucks players because, hey, you're still getting 3 games out of them. You're still getting value from them through the conference championship, and then Super Bowl comes, and now you're going with just your core Buffalo, San Francisco. Okay, last question before I jump in another. Max asking, if you could only choose one strategy, would you go structural team approach with best players on a heavy underdog team or complementing favorited teams with unpopular players? I don't want to choose one. I mean, I think it's important to do both. I think both have line of sight and path to success. But I don't know. That's kind of like saying, hey, if you only had to choose one team to be drafting to the Super Bowl, who would you choose? And I don't think there's a right answer there. I mean, I guess technically you could say, here's the team that I think is being drafted the least or the most unique combos versus their actual expected likelihood of making it. I don't know. But honestly, I think you just got to have a well-balanced portfolio. If you're only doing 10 of these, then across those 10, try different things. If you're only doing 3, then across those 3, try different things. But for me, I think it's more about just, hey, what is that path to success? How can I get there? And like, yeah, the draft we just did with Philly and Kansas City just kind of shows an example where we have to really focus on where our weakness is in that lineup to advance to the right spot. While other times we may have really strong aspects in the early rounds. This might be the conference championship or Super Bowl. So thinking about how we can kind of improve our chances and optimize those last couple or such. Okay. We're going to jump in a gauntlet. This is on about a 30-second delay. So if you join right now, I will be waiting about 20 seconds. And hopefully you can join us. Hopefully we'll get some people in chat to join us as well. Whew. Let's see. Anything else going on in the world on Twitter, on football news? If there's something that's kind of come out, put in the chat. Let me know. Otherwise, this feels like a good time right now. Let's wait another couple seconds. We're at 39% fill rate. Going pretty well. I got a feeling this will probably fill. Okay, we're entering. Let's see if we can jump in with some fun friends from chat. There we go. We filled up. What pick are we going? Let's get that number one. Let's get a Josh Allen. We got a number two. That's okay as well. Okay, there's some filling in there. Let's see. Trent, look at that. When we do that structure, look at all these red badges we get. Before, we had no red badges. We had 2 black badges and a few others. And then other no badges. Here, we've got almost all. Hey, Mac, your red badge will be coming soon. And to be honest, obviously, I love drafting from a fun aspect with people in chat. So then you all get the chance to kind of just, get that experience aspect. But maybe that's why my advance rate in the BBM for Maine was so low, because of all of you sharp drafters and then all you snipers. I don't know if you guys heard. You probably did. I think my advance rate, not including stream drafts, was around 24%, which I'm very happy about. Maybe the 24, 25. But my advance rate for stream drafts was all the way down at 4%. So I blame you sharp drafters for stealing all the good guys, for sniping my guys. But what I was getting to is, in this format, I want as smart as people as ever being in my draft, because the smarter you are, the more likely you are to focus on your stacks and focus on building your team. And in this scenario, that's exactly what we want, because if you're focused on that, I can focus on mine. Yes, there's going to be a couple teams that are fighting over, that whoever goes Josh Allen, someone else goes Stephon Diggs. There will be a little fighting, but for the most part, let people focus on your own stacks. And only one of us is going to advance, but whoever it is that does advance is a pretty strong team at least. So we're all happy about that. All right, we're grabbing McCaffrey. It's a pretty easy 1-2 pick from me with Allen, followed by McCaffrey. We'll see what we get ourselves into with this draft here. All right. There you go. I see you in the 4 spot there, Greg. Right here. Going with Mahomes in the 4 spot. Mahomes, the 4 spot's always fun because you got your next pick is going to be in the 9. Travis Kelce's ADP is 8.7. Decent chance that he's able to fall back to you. And then you get to have that fun of, how do you optimize on a 1 seed? Do you go with maybe an eagle or 2, or do you start taking, playing a little safer and going for there? Oh, okay. You went with the Justin Jefferson instead. Very interesting. Very interesting. Definitely unique. All right, coming back to us. We have our McCaffrey. We're looking for some AFC. Kelsey would have been fun, but that's not the way the cookie's going to crumble. With San Francisco. All right, let's take a look. So here we've got the Josh Allen guy here. If we don't grab a San Francisco player here, I think Trent is probably going to go Debo George Kittle. And I'm giving him that full ability to take the San Francisco, which then we're fighting for San Francisco the rest of the draft. And I hate that. So I'm going to grab Debo here and say, hey, Trent, I'm going San Francisco. You do not need to grab Kittle. You do not need to go San Francisco. Go somewhere else. There's Dallas. You can go Dallas right now. CeeDee Lamb's still available. You can shore up your Buffalo stack, but you do not need to go San Francisco. That's the communication I'm giving him. Let's see if Trent is going to catch what I've been thrown down. Trent goes T. Higgins. Okay. Little Josh Allen, T. Higgins. Interesting. Curious to see what happens here with the next strategy aspect. Anything, and now, okay, for us, we got to start thinking. I can go Kittle. It's the easy decision here because with Kittle, we got 3 San Francisco, and we're leaving ourselves with options later on. Or if I don't want to go Kittle, we can think about, okay, what do we want to start building for on the other side? Oh my God, Trent, what are you doing? Trent, are you in chat? Trent, if you're in chat, we need to talk. I was a little thrown off by the Higgins pick for Trent because you got Josh Allen. So I'm a little confused at why you're grabbing Higgins because best case scenario is these two play in the second round for you. But then you grab Kittle knowing that Debo and McCaffrey are already gone. And it's not like you want to grab Brock Purdy because you got Josh Allen. I mean, it could just be an auto draft. He did just take up all his time on those picks. I thought we had some sharp draft. I thought we had a sharp draft. You've got a red badge. I was hoping, but maybe the kid was crying. Maybe the dog had to go out. Maybe you forgot that you entered. Okay, we can work with this. See, as long as that clock keeps going down, what we're going to assume going forward is no. What was T. Higgins' ADP? I was going to say that we can, but it could have some, pre-ranks and stuff, but that's okay. So we've got our San Francisco with McCaffrey, Debo, and Eckler. Let's start playing for that 49ers Chargers Super Bowl. Now, I will say this is a very chalky team. A lot of people built the San Francisco LAC. Why? It just feels so easy. You start off with the McCaffrey. You start off with the Niners. You see Eckler just standing there. You love the points that Eckler can give you in the first round. They're a 1-point favorite. They can keep going. It feels just so easy. So we want to keep that in mind when we're building for maybe ways that we can find some uniqueness made later on. But let's at least get all these guys in the queue. Do the same for the 49ers. Hopefully you all know this. I know if you've got the badges, you know it. If you just type in the team name up here, you can very easily go down the list and see exactly who is available for those teams. Okay. We are back on the clock. Our options are we've got Brandon Ayuk, we got Brock Purdy, we got Keenan. Hi. Gosh, I really wish I knew a little more on what Trent was going to do. I'm going to think that Trent is just, if he auto drafts, I'm thinking like, do I grab Brandon Ayuk? Go Keenan. Oh, this is so ugly. I'm going to go Keenan if I can do it in time. My reason why is because if he is literally just auto drafting off of ADP, if I would have gotten Ayuk, he's then going to go McKinnon and Brock Purdy. And if he does that, I'm now in risk of someone else later grabbing Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert as a late stack. So instead, what I've done here is I went Keenan thinking, hey, if he ends up auto drafting, all right, he goes Ayuk there. It's now, but he's not really auto drafting off of ADP. Oh, and he's back, and he goes Purdy, and he goes Ayuk, and he gets that back door. That's okay though, and we kind of were okay with it because hey, we knew we were going for the LAC San Francisco Super Bowl matchup. And to be honest, between Purdy and Herbert, if you know they're both in the Super Bowl, we would rather have Herbert. We also would rather have Keenan Allen over Ayuk in a one game, in a 1v1 there. I could take a little risk. I'm not going to do it. We don't have enough time. I could have taken a risk and said, hey, no one's drafted Austin Eckler or Keenan Allen. I've got them both. It's unlikely with this sharp draft, these badges, that someone's going to reach on Justin Herbert. So maybe I should have gone with like a Barkley or another player. But I'm glad I didn't because it would have been a rush decision. I would have gone Barkley and forgot that we already have 2 elite running backs. So Barkley would have been a luxury pick at this point. Yes, it's possible they win that game. But for me, and maybe he outscores one of these 2, but it's not going to be by too much. I would have wanted to, if anything, go for a wide receiver tight end spot to shore up this. Debo and Keenan, strong plays here, but obviously either of them can bust. Okay, we're going to keep an eye out here. The There's the option if we wanted to kind of get a second stack on the NFC side with the Bucks. We've got, okay, Godwin gone. I will save the airtime. We don't need to talk about that anymore. We've got one more. Let's see what comes to us. Obviously, we have the Elijah Mitchell and the Mike Williams for the stack aspects. It's a bit of a reach. We could still go with it, though, and see what plays out. I'm thinking this Dallas Goedert is pretty. Oh, my God, and you got Dallas Goedert. I'm waiting to talk. I mean, you should. You are. I mean, this is going to be a tough one for you, but I like it. It's a good pick. It's a good pick. Okay. What do we want to do? We could still go with the Mike Evans. Oh, this feels tough. We're going to get a little saucy here. We'll grab the Mike Evans, giving ourselves maybe a little kind of a secondary aspect on the NFC side. We know we have the Herbert. What do we get? If it comes back, so the only fighting with me for 49ers is Trent here. I think he's got Purdy, Kittle, Ayuk. So I think it's unlikely someone grabs Elijah Mitchell, especially with Zeke and Pacheco still available. I mean, Mike Williams is not looking great with the back spasms and stuff. So like people have been kind of scared of it, but I'm going to take the Mike Williams. We really just got this strong Chargers stack going. We'll see if we can end up with maybe another Buccaneer or something. I'm going to put Brady. I'm going to put playoff Lenny there. There goes playoff Lenny. Are we sure that when I put someone in the queue, it doesn't automatically get drafted by someone else? It really feels like that today. Okay. Let's talk a little about one quarterbacks. So if you've read my article on ETR, you probably saw that I'm really a proponent of one quarterback builds when it is the QB who's playing in the wild card round and is on your primary stack that you expect to go to the Super Bowl. Because the general belief is that Justin Herbert on the Chargers, if the Chargers make it to the Super Bowl, they've won all their games to get there. He's probably doing really well himself. I don't need a second QB because how many games am I going to get out of the second QB? And like, what's the actual value? Blah, blah, blah. I'm a firm believer of that. And I think that's the optimal in general play. I think that's kind of like level one is I need a second quarterback because I'm scared. Like it's such a high scoring position. I'm scared of my one quarterback. Let me grab a second. Okay. Level two is what I just discussed where you only grab one because they're winning success. It's going to have, you don't want to waste this on a position. You can only count one, etc. I think there was a level three macro aspect that has changed because of the meta or because of how I've been seeing so many drafts is a lot of the sharper people have been going with this one QB strategy. And because of that, I think there's now actually an edge to get ahead of the one QB. Okay, we're going to grab Elijah Mitchell. We'll let that fall into place. I think there's actually some leverage on those sharp teams that are only going with the one QB where, let's say in week one, you do that Charger stack, you do a Burrow, you got Dak, you've got whoever it is. And instead of Herbert having a good game, he has a game like Joe Burrow had last week where I think he had 9 points or something. Very plausible. We could even see a game where Eckler scores all the touchdowns and it's 3 touchdowns and they win that game. Now, what happens in that situation is because this is 1 out of 6, a lot of people who just went with these crazy Chargers heavy stacks and just one QB, which is technically the sharp play, they might bust because Herbert didn't have that one good game. Now, how do I get some leverage on this SF LAC stack that's pretty popular is, well, let me grab another QB that in that situation that maybe the Chargers do bust, I've now got this, Tom Brady, Mike Evans stack out here that can help me advance because maybe the Chargers win in a low scoring game, or it's just a game where Eckler gets all the points. This now gives us some additional opportunity to advance. And in the time that happens, we start getting more and more unique. And maybe it happens in the second round or something. But that's where at the very beginning, when I said, hey, we're going SFLAC, we got to keep in mind that that's a very chalky Got to think a little outside the box for what scenarios could happen? What stories can we tell ourselves that can create a scenario where we are able to advance while most other similar lineups, not the exact same, but similar lineups, end up failing? So that's what we have there. Okay, quick refresher on this team as we go into the last pick. We've got Herbert and Brady. We've got McCaffrey, Eckler, Elijah Mitchell. I would say I feel good about our quarterbacks. I feel very good about our running backs. And McCaffrey and Eckler, I'm not sure if you can have a stronger. And wide receivers, Debo, Keenan, Evans, Mike Williams, I'd say I feel good about. We don't have the elite guys like the Jefferson, like the Chase, like the Diggs, like the CeeDee Lamb. But we've got 4 here that I feel pretty good about. And we're going to try to think about what we want to do with a 5th. We're not going to do a running back because we're expecting these 2. We only need 2 scores out of these. This is, again, where we got to make a decision. Do we grab one of these late guys? Aren't being drafted that often, maybe gives us a little uniqueness in a Chargers Super Bowl, or do we go with someone who's going to help us in that first round? And I don't see anyone that I think provides us with a substantial edge in week 1 over the guys we have. Maybe Metcalf, maybe Waddle. But again, with those 2, it's just the chance of them advancing is so slim. And then it's, okay, do they actually outscore our guys over here? And then do they outscore them by enough that do we actually need those, and maybe we would advance without them? I think it's a lot of it's tough. It's a lot of things that I just low likelihood to get that additional small maybe value. I'd rather take the Josh Palmer and, hey, Mike Williams in his back spasms, maybe he doesn't play this first week. Josh Palmer does play, and he's the guy you need. And then in the second week, you start getting the Mike Williams. And maybe now it's another way for us to get some uniqueness because, like we talked about, the handcuff running back double strategy, that ping pong aspect maybe gives us some added uniqueness to advance. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. If there are other questions, throw them in. Joe asking, that's the weirdest draft I've seen. Maybe I'm wrong. Allen, Higgins, Kittle. The Allen and Higgins is very interesting. I don't see it myself. If you went Mahomes and Higgins, I see that, because then you could have those 2 teams not playing until the conference championship, having high scores. It is then you're getting some uniqueness out of it and a chance of actually putting up strong points in the conference championship that gets you to advance that others wouldn't. But again, maybe the Allen Higgins was just an auto draft. Maybe maybe badges don't mean as much as we think they do. Or maybe that person's really good at other things and this is a new one and they're still learning, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, this has been fun. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Let's see, what else? Let's do any other strategy article is still on the ETR website. Rankings for Underdog, rankings for DraftKings Playoff Best Ball are on the website. Do enjoy these. If you get value out of them, please send a tweet out, tag me, tag ETR, give us a little appreciation. That'll keep me coming back and letting the big bosses upstairs know that these are valuable. Or in the YouTube comments, put a little comment in there saying you appreciate it. I appreciate that. I know that the bosses then say, hey, Justin, you're actually doing good stuff. You should keep coming back and delivering this information to everyone for free. And I'm like, cool, we should do that. It is Thursday, 2 days away from the playoffs. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go see Hamilton, the musical, tonight. My second time. I'm pretty excited. And then maybe I'll put the phone down for a few hours, not do some drafts. So there's a window tonight, 7 to 10. I won't be in the lobby. That is your time. Go have some fun. Enjoy the rest of your day. And otherwise, if you got some time, hey, 4 o'clock today, check my Twitter. I will be on another stream drafting more underdogs, best ball, all the fun stuff. That's all for today. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers.